Hey folks, today we're going to talk about the lawsuit against the National Association of Realtors. This lawsuit was filed back in 2019, and there were a group of home sellers that claimed that the National Association of Realtors conspired to keep commissions high, which was causing the home sellers to have to pay too much to sell their homes. They also say that the rules of the National Association of Realtors are forcing home sellers to pay the commission for the buyer's agent as well, and that's not fair. So who won this lawsuit? Well, we're going to get into it. Not only am I going to tell you about the lawsuit, I'm going to break down how these commission structures are and why they are the way they are. And I'd love to get your opinion as well, but you have to stick around for the whole video and get all of the facts before you give me your opinion. I'm going to get into the facts right now. So, if this is your first time to my channel, please subscribe. Also tap that bell and you'll be notified whenever I post another video. I love to keep you updated and abreast of what's going on in the real estate industry and the real estate market. And I also love to show you my city. I live in San Antonio, Texas. I think it's the greatest city in the country. A lot of people are moving here from all over the country, and there's good reason why. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today we're going to talk about that lawsuit. So, again, a group of sellers sued the National Association of Realtors because they feel like the commissions are artificially inflated and it's costing them too much money to sell their homes. And they also feel like they shouldn't have to pay the buyer's commission. If you're selling your home, you're paying your seller's agent. Why should I also have to pay the buyer's agent? Is what they're saying. Okay? So we're going to dive into all of that. First of all, let me just say that they won this lawsuit. The verdict just came in a couple days ago, and they won the lawsuit. It's a $1.8 billion verdict against the National Association of Realtors. Now, this is not the end of it. Obviously, they'll have the right to appeal, and they plan on appealing. And so we'll see what happens from here. But let's just get into this verdict. And let's talk about real estate commissions. Because if you've sold a home, you understand that, yeah, that's how it has worked for many years. If you're the seller, you pay the commission for both agents. But is that an unfair thing? You want to sell your home. You want to attract agents who will bring their buyers to you to buy that home. So should you not have to pay that agent for bringing you a buyer? That's an interesting question, and I'll give you my take on it, okay? So this is what they're claiming. They're claiming that the seller is being forced to pay the buyer's agent, and that's not fair, right? I only know about Texas. I've been a realtor here in Texas for almost 14 years now. I've never sold a house in another state as a realtor. I've sold my own houses. I owned homes in Oklahoma before I moved to Texas, and I bought and sold homes there, but as a home buyer and a home seller, not as a realtor. But here in Texas, this is how it works. You hire a listing agent to list your home for sale. Now, in that contract with that listing agent, you'll typically be agreeing to a 6% commission. That's pretty standard in the industry, although, let me say, real estate commissions are negotiable. If you can get that agent to list it for less, then do so. But understand this, all agents are not created equal. So if you get a good agent who's going to really sell your home, you might think it's worth 6% to get that home sold. I did a video just recently, a few days ago, about a home in my neighborhood that was listed for a while. They lowered the price, lowered the price, lowered the price. They never could sell the home, and they took it off the market. What if that person had hired an expert realtor who would get that home sold for them, and that home would be sold right now? So do you think it would be worth 6% to that owner to have that home sold instead of having it linger on the market until they end up canceling the listing? What are they going to do now? I mean, they've moved out of the house already. They've even tried to rent the house, and it didn't rent. I mean, they canceled that listing as well. So right now, the house is just sitting there vacant, and those owners are probably making that payment. If they're not making that mortgage payment, they're going to be facing foreclosure. So do you think it would be worth 6% to that person if he hired an agent that would actually get that house sold? I'll put a link at the end of this to that video so you can check it out. I talk a lot about it in that video. But the real point that I want to make here is commissions are negotiable. But in life, as with everything, you kind of get what you pay for, or you should get what you pay for. Now, if you're paying someone a 6% commission, as in this case, where they didn't get your house sold, well, obviously they didn't get paid, because a realtor only gets paid when they sell the house. We only get paid after there's a closing, okay? So when there's a closing, you would presume that that realtor did his job or her job. If there's no closing, then they didn't really do what they were hired to do. But the point I'm making here is all realtors are not equal. You kind of get what you pay for, or you should get what you pay for. If you hire a good realtor who will get your home sold, then 6% is a small price to pay, in my opinion. And here's the reason I say that. Realtors have a lot of expenses. We have a ton of expenses, okay? We have to pay dues and fees. We have to pay for the membership in the Board of Realtors. We have to pay for our MLS membership. We have to renew our license every 2 years. That costs money. And also there are requirements to do that. There are educational requirements. We have to take classes to continue our education before we can even apply to renew our license. So the classes cost money. As a realtor, we have to work for a broker. There's no such thing as an independent realtor. Oh, I'm just a realtor. I'm not associated with any brokerage. I'm just a realtor out here selling houses. That doesn't exist. It's not allowed. It's illegal. Only a broker is allowed to sell and buy homes for people, okay? So if you're a realtor, you have to work for a broker. You become an agent of a brokerage, okay? So the broker often charges fees as well. Sometimes they're monthly fees, sometimes they're annual fees, sometimes there's both. And also they get a split of your commission. So it's very expensive being a realtor. Let me tell you this, if you're representing a buyer, you're driving that buyer around, showing them homes, so you're using a lot of your time, you're putting wear and tear on your car, you're burning gas. My car uses premium. It takes about $70 to fill up my car. I had a client a few years ago that I was driving around showing homes, and they put a few offers, but their offers were kind of weak. You know, that was at the time when it was a real seller's market, when everybody was having to offer above the asking price just to have a chance at buying a home. You'd have to offer, you know, in the San Antonio market, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 over asking price was not uncommon on a, I'm talking, you know, $200,000 to $300,000 home, right? That was not uncommon to offer $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, and there were people who were offering $20,000 and still not getting the home. That's how competitive it was. So I had these clients, a husband and wife, and they were making weak offers. I would recommend to them what they should offer, but they wouldn't follow my recommendation, and they're making weak offers. And I finally had to tell them, you're not going to get a house with those weak offers. You're going to have to step up your game if you really want to buy a house. And I made the point to them that, look, you know, I'm driving you around all the time. This is costing me money. This is costing me time. And I don't get paid unless we close on a deal. And I can't afford to just drive you around showing you houses and writing up offers for you over and over and over and over for weeks and months without getting paid. You know, I told them, I said, you have jobs, right? When you go to work, you want to get paid. I mean, a realtor's no different. We go to work, we want to get paid. We take all the risk because we do all the work up front, not knowing whether or not we're going to get paid at the end. And oftentimes we don't. So then there you go. There's another expense that realtors bear, the risk that a realtor bears. When you finally do get it, you've earned it. Now, there are listing agents, and I talk about this in the other video as well, who will list a home. They put a sign in the yard. They put that home on the MLS, they take some pictures, and they're done. And they just leave it and hope it sells. Well, arguably, maybe you're not getting your money's worth if you hired that type of a realtor. I mentioned, again, in that previous video that when I list a home, I sell the home. I don't list a home and hope it's gonna sell. Hoping a home is gonna sell is not a good marketing strategy, okay? As realtors, it's our job to sell that home. So that means we have to market that home, and we have to make sure that home is going to be appealing. I mean, we have to have cooperation of the seller, because sometimes we need the seller to do things to the home. I might need you to paint that home if you really want it to sell. I might need you to put new carpet in that home if you really want it to sell. We may need to do some landscaping to give that home a little more curb appeal. Okay, so these are things that we may ask of the seller. But that's part of my job. I'm an advisor. I'm the expert here. This is what I do for a living. So if the seller listens to me, I'll get that home sold. But yeah, we have tons of expenses, and 3% is not a lot to pay for a good realtor who really is doing his job or her job. There are more female realtors than there are male realtors, by the way. I tend to say he because because I'm a male. So then there's the question of, should the seller have to pay the buyer's agent? This isn't something that's ever forced upon a seller, at least not here in Texas. If I'm listing your home, I'm going to recommend that you offer, a reasonable commission for the buyer's agent. Because if you don't, then the buyers aren't going to show your home. It's going to be kind of hard to sell that home if the realtors aren't bringing their buyers to see it. So that's why the seller pays the buyer's agent's commission, because you need those agents to bring you a buyer. It makes perfect sense to me. But the other thing I want to kind of call into question is that seller really paying that buyer's agent's commission? Because it is the buyer who will be bringing the money to the table. Those commissions are going to be paid out of the funds that buyer is bringing to the table. Technically, the seller is paying the commission because the commission comes out of the proceeds from the sale of the home, but the buyer is bringing those proceeds to the table. So that's kind of a iffy situation there. Can you really say that the seller is paying that buyer's agent's commission when the buyer is the one bringing all the money to the table? So it's just a matter of perspective of how you look at it. I think the way it's set up is good, and here's why. I remember a time when it wasn't like that. You might have just one agent involved in the sale of a home. So you have your home listed, and then people would come to look at it and they wouldn't have an agent. So you just had one agent that you had to pay. The buyer didn't have any representation. So just like when you go to court, if you're being sued, the lawyer that's going to represent the plaintiff is representing the plaintiff. He's not representing you as a defendant. So you have to bring your own lawyer. But oftentimes when you win the case, guess what? That plaintiff will have to pay your legal fees. So it's a very, very similar situation. As a realtor, I'm a state licensed professional, just like an attorney is. And that's why they restructured it and made it like it is today. So both sides have representation. The listing agent works for the home seller. The buyer's agent works for the buyer. And those two agents are the professionals, and they represent their parties and try to each get the best deal possible for their respective parties. So that's how it works, and it's been a good system. It's worked well for a lot of years. I say if something's not broke, don't fix it, because usually you screw it up worse. And this system has not been broken. It's worked. Why are they complaining about a system that works? The seller gets what he wants. He gets his home sold. The buyer gets what they want. They have assistance in finding a home, and they have professional representation. Everybody gets what they want. What's the problem? Again, I really would like to hear your opinions. Feel free to put them in the comments, and I look forward to reading them. So if you're trying to buy a home, I'd be more than happy to help you with that. I have helped a lot of buyers over the years. If you have a home that you're trying to sell, I know a little something about that as well. I've written books on it, in fact. Be happy to provide you with a free copy of one of my books if you're local. If you're not, I can ship it to you, but you have to pay the shipping and handling. The books are packed full of great information in greater detail than I could ever go into in a YouTube video, because it would be a really long video. I am a veteran of the United States Air Force. I'm really honored when I get a chance to help other veterans or active duty military. So call me, text me, or you can schedule a Zoom with me. All of my contact information is always in the comments section below my videos. And leave a comment for me while you're there. I read all the comments and respond. Even if you're not a veteran or military member, I promise I'll use every ounce of my expertise on your behalf. I hope to hear from you soon. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. Till next time.